Rome's one of your sure-handed guys. What could he have done better on that play at the end?
Just made the catch. You know, he was in great position. Thought we got good chip on the two guys we had to get a chip on. And, you know, he's in great position to make it. He makes that thing 99 out of 100 times. So we've defended 11 onside kicks since we've been here. He's been there for 8 of them. And that's the first one we didn't come up with. So he'll be back out there come Saturday night.
Is there any other coaching point to that play other than it happens? I mean, it's the 1 out of 100.
It's just right about what it is right now. Yeah, he got himself in good position. He took a funky bounce at the end, made him back up a little bit, had his hands in great position, just didn't make it. So, and then when we fell on it, you know, it kind of scooted out back towards the inside instead of back towards the sideline. But after that, it just becomes a Donnybrook for the ball.
So, Rich, you guys were a perfect 10 for 10 on defending outside kicks going to that.
No, we're 10 for 11 now. So,
Is it? Do you generally tell those guys to attack the ball, or is that a case by case?
again, there's a lot of different things that happen, but if you look at him, the position he got himself in was really good. I think at the end it took a little bit of a skip instead of a higher hop, and it kind of handcuffed him a little bit. But, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever defended one of those kicks, but thought we were in good enough position to make the play. We just didn't make the play at the time.
You know, back in the olden days, you know, back when the kickers used to hit the high hoppers, you'd have a bunch of big guys up there. Is it just because of all the quote-unquote trick kicks that you have?
No, it's the rules now. It's the rules. You can't have the same formations. Those two other guys have to stay on the back end. You're really outnumbered to some degree. They can have 5 and 5 on each side. But if you're talking about back when the guy backed up in Green Bay against Seattle and Jordy Nelson standing right behind him to make the play, so you don't really get in those formations anymore. So a lot of balls now are spinners, and the ball ends up being right in front of them. We've gotten a bunch of those over to the left. Jay Reed's gotten a bunch. We got a spinner last time that Evan Williams made a play on. So a lot of the guys up front now have to be able to field the ball as well.
Rich, you've talked about it many times. You can play, 30 perfect plays, but if there's one that it doesn't go, it can really hurt you. So I guess how do you reconcile that and how do you move forward?
You just lose sleep for a few days and nights, but for me, I want to make sure we protect Rome. He's done a great job. He's got the best hands on I've been around. Been around a lot of great players. The guy's a great player, not a good player, an elite player. We put him in a great position, and again, like I said, we put him in that position before to make the play, and he's made it a bunch. So he's already had one this year. He's made a play on a big high bounce, and the other one went over his head and went out of bounds. So we're just looking forward to getting back to practicing it tomorrow and the next day, and then get ready to play in the game.
Rich, have you had a lot of onside kicks not go your way during your time? I mean, do they always just feel like a gut punch when it leads to what it led to?
Yeah, the other one that felt like this for me was 2003. It's the Monday night game. We're playing the Colts. It's when they came back and beat us in Tampa, and we had to defend 3 of them in that game. We got 2 of the 3, and one we didn't get, it was John Lynch was in the exact same spot that Romeo Dobbs was in, and we didn't get that particular play. But now, in retrospect, would I ever want anybody else to be there besides John Lynch? No, right? So, guys, it happens. It's a funky kick that they get on these onsides, and that one just gave a little bit of a funky bounce at the end. So, but when it doesn't go your way, obviously you're in a critical situation, or else they wouldn't be in an onside kick situation, right? So when you don't get it, you got to put your defense back out there, and regardless of what the time is on the field, you got to defend them. And, so yeah, it's a gut punch for sure.
So just because you mentioned the 2014 one, that's obviously one that Packers fans would probably say too soon to even bring up still. Did you use that as the fact that you recalled it, did you use it as a coaching point?
I've used it every year since it's been put on tape. Actually, the first year when Jordy came to us at the Raiders, I had it on there in the hands team meeting, and he comes up to me after, and he had a couple of things to say about the particular play.
But the coaching point is, if your job is to
Coaching
block.
point for the front line is never back up, always go forward. And if you look at what Rome and X both did, they both went forward. They both got chips on. X got a big chip on 90, which is the guy we had to get our hands on first. We knew it was going. We thought it would go towards him, and did a good job of getting a chip on him and widening him out a little bit. And so the other guys, if you look at Keyshawn looking at him and Josh looking at him, they all see it in practice, the way he makes catches on all those different kicks that we give him in practice. So I think we all assumed we're just going to come up with the ball,
On the punt that Rome Fair caught 50 seconds before halftime, there's a lot of room on that play. Did you tell him, no matter what, on this play, fair catch?
Yeah, it was definitely a fair catch situation. We played safe kind of up front. We just wanted to get the ball and see if we could do something with it or end the half. A lot of times in that situation, we don't even put a return guy back there with that much time on the clock.
What's the challenge with the Baltimore, just special teams unit? I know stats are stats, but they seem to rank pretty well across the different phases.
Yeah, I think they're playing really well in the kickoff return game. They're playing with their, 2 of their running backs back there. Ali's a good north-south guy. He breaks a bunch of tackles. They're a big physical group on their punt rush team. They've blocked one already against Cleveland. And the young guy they got back there returning punts is doing a good job. I think he's averaging over 10, which would be a first down. He's a north-south guy. He's got great speed. He's had 2 big returns already this year. So their punter is hitting some, we call them fat balls or banana balls, and they're really hard to catch, especially if you get in a windy situation. So I think they're playing good across the board. Notoriously, they've been a really good group. Their head coach is obviously an ex-teams coach, and they've always been a big physical team. They're built that way, and it's no different in the kicking game.
Have you guys kicked any, I don't remember seeing any dirty kicks, the bouncers inside the 20 from you?
We've kicked a couple. I think we've kicked 5
Is it that many?
so far.
I felt like I saw a lot of it early in the season and less of it later. Has something happened, that the teams learned something about that? Is it too hard to do?
I think situationally, depends on where you are. I think we played Chicago here the first game. They tried one on the very first kick, and it was short of the zone, and we ended up on the 40. So I think where you are in the game, whether you're going to take a shot at it, if you don't think your guy is really that consistent with it, whether you're going to do it or not. I think we had one earlier in the year when Lucas was kicking, I believe, and then we've had one. I think we've had 2 with McManus. We've defended a few of them. This guy's kicking some of them, but not all the time. So, it just depends on the different kicker. I think as we go in time with this particular kickoff, they'll get much better at it. We're dealing with a lot of guys that are trained to be kickers and kick the ball off. I think we talked about this earlier in the year. I think you're seeing some of these guys that grew up being great soccer players like Aubrey and Dallas hits a bunch of those dirty kicks, like we're calling them. The guy in the Rams was really doing a great job with it early, and then they cut him. I think he missed some kicks and field goals. They ended up cutting him, but he was probably the best at it at that particular time. And the guy for Carolina did it against us a bunch when he played here.
Just out of curiosity, was the wind in Chicago before the game the same as it was during the game, or did it pick up as?
You can ask the kickers, but I think it stayed the same for the most part. It seemed to be coming from, if we're on our sideline, it was coming out of both end zones going in that direction across the field. I really don't think it was going either direction, or Brandon didn't think it was going too hard either direction. We had to kick that, was that a 48-yard PAT, and it was a difficult win. I think right at the end he kind of got it inside the upright, but it started going across the field out of this end zone to my left for sure.
Hey, Rich, from the press box, we could see the security guys going after the ball that went into the stands after Brandon kicked the field goal. And Brandon was saying to me today that there's actually an NFL rule now to make sure you get your ball back. Given the investment you guys put into preparing them, is that really important to get it back?
Yeah, I think it is. We only get so many of them, and when they're done for the year, they're done. So because of the way they're preparing them, and it's kind of critical, really to have the same ball that you've kind of gotten ready to play with in the game. Like the quarterback balls, we don't think about it much when the guy scores a touchdown. He takes that quarterback ball and he hauls it up, into the stands. A lot of times those quarterbacks are on the sideline like, wish you wouldn't do that right now. But yeah, I think it's critical because we only have so many. We only have so many for the year and so many for each individual game that we'd like to maintain the balls if we possibly can. So.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Sure.
We didn't get to talk to Keyshawn today, and obviously the way the game went last Saturday night, I know it's a cliche that corners have to have short memories, but you know him better than probably anybody in the building. How do you expect him to bounce back? Because that's got to be a pretty big burden when you lose a game and things go the way it did for him.
Yeah, again, Keyshawn's Keyshawn. Keyshawn's big dog when he's big dog, but I think our head coach has done a great job with all of our players about response, right? I think that's where we're all trying to preach that as coaches. I think the players talk about adversity all the time with each other. And when you do play that position back there, you can go from the penthouse to the outhouse, and you can go from the outhouse to the penthouse really quickly, for both of those. So I think it'll all be about his response. And if in the time I've been around him in particular, his response has always been to come back and compete a little bit harder than he did the day before. So I think that's what we ought to expect, not only from Key, but from, our entire team, from all the guys that went through, the ebbs and flows of a game. We talk about special teams, 28 plays in a game, and there's one that you just can't get over, right? And I think if you're a defensive player, you're an offensive player, and you get done with the game, before you go to look at the film, you start self-reporting to yourself. There's 3 plays that I just can't believe I did. No matter how the game turned out, a win or a loss, you're always dwelling on those particular plays that happened to you. And so I think all of our players, the response should be, can't wait to get to tomorrow so I can get a little bit better, and I think that's what our head coach preaches, and I think that's what our whole team will accept as a response to get better. You good?
Thank you.
All right, you guys, healthy and happy New Year. Thank you.
guys working on Christmas Eve?
We got no choice.
Seriously?
Hey, if you're
It's
here,
high fever anyway.
Let me ask you a question. What would happen if you didn't show up?
Nothing. I
'Cause-
don't really have any
See,
bosses.
so it is your choice.
I don't have family or anyone here, so.
Well, with those of you who do have family here, I hope you get to spend the Christmas with them.
hey, if you're here, we're gonna be here.
I appreciate it. I do. I really do appreciate it. It looks like some people took Christmas Eve off, you know? For those like looking, this whole side of the room right now is empty. So to those who missed it, Merry Christmas to them too. Clearly, they're enjoying it more than us in this room. All right.
What would happen if you didn't show up?
Today? Yeah, I don't think that'd be good. I have to show up. But I will get home tonight to see my kids before they go to bed and Santa comes. And, you know, Matt was kind to push things back tomorrow to let the staff and the families celebrate Christmas morning together. So I appreciate that from him. That goes a long way, certainly, to the players and to our families. So, Matt, thank you, even though he'll never watch this. I appreciate it. All right, to football.
What happened on the touchdown at the end of regulation?
Well, we had a pressure call, and not to get too specific into the details of the call, we had a pressure call versus a great look. They were in a call and in a protection where they couldn't pick it up. You know, we had a free runner, and we just had a busting coverage that he was able to find a guy and throw off his back foot and make the play. So we've got to coach that better. We've got to play it better. But I can look you in the eye and tell you that's what happened.
They supposed to switch that route?
I'm not going to go into detail on what happened and relive that and point fingers. But there was an error in the coverage. It should have been covered. We made a mistake, so we got to coach it better. We have to execute it better. But we had a free runner at the quarterback, and that's very rare to happen. So we got to make that play. But, hats off to them. Threw off his back foot, and they made a great play. So.
Matt was saying how just bizarre that game was when you only had 6 points given up in the first 57 minutes. How much of what happened after the onside kick can be attributed to momentum? It was a massive momentum play. Did that play a factor?
Yeah, I think, I respect that question. I think momentum plays a huge part in our game, right or wrong, whether you want to admit it. But I can't use that as an excuse. I mean, I'm so proud of the way those guys played in the game. I mean, we sat here all last week, and it was, how are we going to play defense without Micah, and how are we going to play defense without this guy and all these injuries, and against a top 5 offense and, a really good play caller for most of the game. I mean, they couldn't score a touchdown. I mean, it was inspiring. The third down defense was outstanding. I think they were 1 of 11 until I think the very end of the game. I just was proud of how physical we were, how fast we were, and we really thought when we were able to bleed the clock and get them to kick that field goal, just under that 2-minute warning or right at the 2-minute warning, it was, we were right there, and unfortunately what happened, and we have to get back on the field and we have to get a stop, and we had a chance to, and we were right there, right there. And we didn't get it done, so we got to finish. But, the process has always been very important to me and to us, and I thought it was right. And I'm really, really proud of the way those guys stepped up and played. And I mean that. The loss hurts. It's tough. But as always, we learn from it. We move on. And if we can continue to do that, we're going to play really well in these last 2 games and going forward. So confident in the defense as I was, and just proud of those guys.
Jeff, I don't know what your numbers or charting said on as far as pressures on Caleb, but our ESPN numbers said you guys pressured him at the highest rate he's been pressured all season.
Yeah.
So what did you think, just your pass rush without Micah?
Yeah, no, I mean, your statistics are accurate. The plan was to try to keep him in the pocket. The plan was to be aggressive in the game. We kind of joked, did we have some other stuff that we had to work real hard last week and plan, and we did. And I credit to the staff and I credit to the players. We executed it, whether it was 4-man rush with games, whether it was some different exotic pressures or sim pressures or man pressures. We tried to go after them and contain them, and the guys really executed at a high level. And whether it was a hit on the quarterback or flushing him out to throw the ball away, I felt like he threw the ball into the stands multiple times. I felt like the intentional grounding, we had a free runner there, which he just threw up the ball. And even on the last play, I mean, they didn't block us. So, it was a successful day as far as the pressures go, and hopefully we can build off of that and continue to pressure the quarterback. So we'll find a way. And like I said, I just think it's important to do our job, and whoever's out there, we need to figure out what they do best and put them in position to succeed. And, I credit our players for executing it.
With the questions they got at quarterback, do you have varying game plans depending on, I realize they have kind of the same scheme, but do you have to attack differently, or is it basically the same thing regardless of who's out there?
Well, I don't want to take anything away from Lamar, and say it's just going to be the same thing. I have a ton of respect for him and what he's done in this league and how dynamic he is. I mean, I went back and, just the times that whether we practiced against him or played against him or I've watched him play, I mean, he's dynamic. So I don't want to say, no, it's just the same thing no matter who plays quarterback, because I think that's unfair to give credit to Lamar and what he's done in this league and how dynamic he is. As far as scheme, I don't think the scheme will change very much. Certainly they might have wrinkles in what Huntley is more comfortable in doing, right? Just like any other coach would do with his player. But if you go back and watch the games that he's played in, it's similar. I mean, he can run the ball, he can throw the ball, he moves well in the pocket, he can escape coverages, he can scramble. He's a good athlete who's been in the league for quite a while. But they got a good team. I mean, they got a bunch of stars on that team. And the running back, I mean, you guys all have seen how big and strong and dangerous he can be. I think the O-line is playing really well. I think they're well coached. I think the scheme and Coach Monk can do a really good job within the run game, the play-pass game. They got multiple tight ends, and then Zay. I mean, Zay, I had the opportunity to coach for multiple years. Now I get to coach against him. He's a dynamic wideout who can stop and start. I mean, he's got over 70 catches this year. I think the next most at receiver for them is in the 18s or 20s, so you know how they're going to get him the ball. They're going to hand him the ball, quick throws him the ball, take shots down the field to him, and his catch and run is as good as there is in this league. He has a crazy way of seeing things and spatial awareness, and as a guy that coached him for 3 years, it makes me extremely proud to see. But now we're going to do everything we can to stop him. What I'm most proud of when I watch, though, is the way he blocks down the field. The guy's been relentless. He's blocking, he's catching the balls, and that's always one thing that, I think back to talking to him about was, anybody can go out and catch the ball. It's just those guys who block down the field shows you how much you care about your teammates and how much you love football. And it's actually really cool for me to see him continue to do that. I'm very fond of the guy, and now it's everything we can do to stop him and get him on the ground and limit him. So they're an explosive offense. I got a ton of respect for him.
The one knock on their running back is that he has fumbled this season. They've been pretty critical. Do you identify that on film? And when you do, it becomes a trend for a guy. Do you look at that as an opportunity?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think there's many knocks on him because I think he's big and fast and he's hard to bring down, and he's got I think he has over 230 carries on the year. So it's more carries, more chances for him to fumble the ball, more chances to attack the ball. So we'll do everything we can to take the ball from him. I mean, I think takeaways are going to be huge in this game. If you look at both teams right now, the ball is, one team hasn't lost if they win the ball, our team hasn't lost if we win the ball. So we've got to certainly do a better job than we did last week attacking the ball.
Hey, Jeff, I understand why you don't want to get into the game-tying touchdown, but if it was involving Key, and then obviously you get beat for the game winner, I was asking Rich about this. I understand the cliche is that you have to have a short memory at that position, but how do you think he bounces back from something like that? Because that's a pretty big burden when you lose a game like that.
Yeah, you can look at this game. You can look at every single game that a team loses, and if it's a close game, the last guy, whoever it might be on a team, that guy who gets beat, or that guy who misses a tackle, or that guy who gets beat in coverage, or that guy who busts something, it's easy to point fingers at that guy, right? And I don't think that's fair to do. I mean, there's 60, 65, 70 other plays in the game, and the game's never going to come down to one play, and I mean that. And that's how they have to approach the game. And you can't just put the burden on yourself, one play. Well, what about the other plays where they led down the field and we had a missed coverage or a missed tackle where a guy caught a ball on someone that led to 3 points or the other 3 points they had or the other 3 points that they had. You know, we had some critical mistakes in the game. We had a critical penalty in the game on 3rd and 20. We sacked a guy. It's 4th and 28. And, you know, things happen throughout the course of the game, but you can't look and say, well, that's why we lost the game. So how does he respond? I hope he or anyone else in those positions respond. It's hard, right? And you have to press on and you have to move forward. And you know what else you need? You need coaches and players around him who are going to pick him up. And I think that's my job, and I think that's the other players on our team when a guy's down to help pick him up. And he needs to respond. He has to, and so do all the other guys who made mistakes in that game.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I talked to X about it. He said that there are times when Key carries his failures too long. And I can identify with that type of personality. So I'm just curious. I'm not trying to pin it on him. I'm saying how does a guy that everyone's paying attention to, how does he handle it? And that was.
Yeah, I think it's hard. And I think each individual is probably going to handle it different. But I think that's where we come in. I mean, I called him met him right outside the bus after the game because I wanted to see him, and I gave him a big hug. I mean, he needs all of us right now, but he's also got to get over it because we got another game to play. And you can never let one game beat you twice. And that one catch or 2 catches, whatever it may be, can't lead to more catches in the next game. And that's life in this league. And that's life in general, right? If you're going to get knocked down, get up. And you know how it's easier to get up? When you got good teammates. And when you got coaches who care about you, that are going to have your back, right? And aren't going to point fingers and blame somebody because it ain't his fault. We got to coach it better too, right? So that's my mentality with all those guys. Key's had a really good year for us, a really good year. And I expect he'll have a good 2 games, and going forward, he'll continue to help us out. But that's all part of this.
You know, Jeff, conversely, you know, maybe one play doesn't lose a game, but one play can win a game, you know, like down the stretch, you'd get those plays from Micah Parsons. He's always a threat to get those plays. How do you get them out of others? How do you coax that out of some others? Is that what you're missing?
No, I think we got them. We got pressure at a higher rate than we had, looking at your numbers, than we had in the last however many weeks. I don't think one.
You get an interception.
For sure, and we had other chances to do those things. So I don't look at it like that. I don't think one play can win you a game, and I don't think one play can lose you a game. I think it's the culmination of the consistency throughout the game and what you do. The one play that might win you the game might have been the 3rd down stop in the first quarter. The one play that might have won you the game might have been the sack on 3rd and 9, and now they're out of field goal range, right? But just because it's the last play or the one sack at the end of the game, just don't look at it like that. And I'm not going to look back at who's not here. I'm going to look at who is here and if we can continue to do what we did in that game going forward. And that's what we did. We generated a lot of pressure in that game, and we made a lot of plays in that game against a really good offense. Unfortunately, we just didn't finish.
2 more, please. Jeff, you know, you get Cox schemed up on that play, and he's flat free. How much can he help you even when he is blocked on occasion? And how much can Colin Oliver help you in that kind of?
Yeah, I thought Cox was very disruptive in the game. You know, even on a couple of those boots in the first game we played him, I don't think we did a very good job in the boot game. So you can see we did some different things to not let him out of the pocket. He was a big part of some of those. And even when he didn't get him down, now the quarterback's kind of got to pull up, and he couldn't get to the perimeter. So maybe he didn't make the play, but he did make the play, right? So I think his strength, his physicality, the way he plays the game, his toughness, I think that helped us out a lot in the run and the pass game. You know, Colin, who just really started practicing again, he's a guy that, you know, maybe not as big as Cox or some of those other guys, but he's got really good speed, really good pass rush ability, and he has a different skill set and some different versatility where we can use him in different ways, which I'm really excited about.
How did you think with Javon having to play back again, how he handled that, you know, after so much time he spent with nickel, having to fill in there with...
I think he did great. Really physical. I thought his pass coverage was really good. He had the big breakup on the 3rd down that led to a field goal. I think it was 3rd and 4. And then he had a big breakup in the 2-minute drive where he knocked the ball loose. He had some big open field tackles. Like I said, I think he's had a really, really good year. Being able to play safety and base, being able to play nickel and sub, going and playing safety, you know, with Evan being out for that whole game. I thought he played a really solid game, but it doesn't surprise me. I think he's kind of had a very consistent, very solid year and probably does not get enough credit and is not talked about enough. Someone else jump in there? You guys good? All right, Merry Christmas. Get home to your
Is there any good reason to not keep Belton that card going forward for, however long?
Not keep Eldon or Belton?
Belton.
No, I mean, I think he's doing a nice job. He's getting better every week. I think, no, I don't think there is a reason not to leave him there, at least for the immediate future, for sure.
I mean, I'm talking,
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is he's gone out in games at tackle and played on the edge and done a pretty good job. So, I mean, he has that flexibility to go out there and do that. But I think, yeah, if he's doing a good job at guard, we'll leave him there and see how good he can get,
So has Jordan been able to do everything that you need to see him do so far in practice?
Yeah, he's gone out there and, he's obviously in the protocol and everything like that. But he's doing everything and hopefully we'll see how it goes this week. But hopefully we can get him through the protocol and everything's good.
Do you anticipate that he can practice tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. He'll be out there, again, with limits and things, but I think he'll be out there.
So you guys got Malik for a 7th round pick, to be your backup, and he looks like a starter every time he goes in there. How has he, for lack of a better phrase, revived his career after kind of how it ended in Tennessee?
Yeah, I think, it's been really cool watching that, and I'm really happy for him, just like any player that goes through that adversity and kind of has a chip on their shoulder when they go to a new team and has been given the opportunity to go out there and perform and come through. But yeah, like every time we've needed him, he's come through and done a nice job and given us a chance to win every game that he's been in. So I think, we'll see what the future holds for him, but I think he's really helped himself out for sure for what he's done the last 2 years here.
I know you can't get into specifics, but as you've evaluated the red zone play in recent weeks, what's held you guys up in that?
Yeah, it hasn't been good enough, flat out. Like we've been bad, and I think against the Broncos we had some penalties and things like that where anytime you're in the red zone and you get those negative plays, that's really going to hurt your chances of scoring a touchdown. This week against the Bears, we just didn't do a good job executing the plays. And we obviously need to do a better job, coaches, players, everybody. So when we get in there, we score touchdowns. Because if you're kicking too many field goals or not getting enough points, obviously it's going to be very hard to win.
I'm asked all the time, what's up with the red zone offense when weeks like that happen? I never know what to say because you execute to get down there and then the execution breaks down. What happens once you get to that?
A lot of times, obviously throwing the ball down there is a lot harder. A lot less space, and anytime you have those negative plays or just plays where you don't gain yards and put yourself behind the sticks a little bit, it just makes it that much harder the passing game that much harder. You know what I mean? So I think one thing that's always important is just having a really good run game down there. And for the most part this year we've done that, but other times, when we've struggled, I think that's some things where we have to do a better job. So. It's a holistic thing, though. It's just about executing and then not having those negative plays that put you behind the sticks and make it hard to throw.
On the 4th and 1 by the goal line, early, it looked like Love audible on that play, and then was Watson the first read on that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, yep.
I know times have changed, but like when you were an old lineman in Michigan, if there was a opposing guy who had hit Chad Henne twice and was flagged twice, what would you have done about it?
Yeah, that was, I don't really want to comment much more on that, but, you know, he got a penalty, obviously, for illegal hit in the head, and then, you know, the body weight stuff. Yeah, that was unfortunate, for sure.
But as a former lineman, like TJ Lang and those guys, they might have done something about it. I guess that you.
I don't know what you wanted to say.
I know. I mean, I guess do your guys
Yeah.
need to have the quarterbacks, both your quarterbacks back?
Yeah, you definitely have your quarterbacks back, for sure. They're not gonna go like start a fight in the middle of the
Well,
game
no.
and get penalties as well. That's not productive for anybody, so, yeah.
Yeah, so what if they do that, they back him up, and then they get flagged for, you know, roughness?
Yeah, that's a tough deal,
Something
like,
you won't
you're
deliver.
always, that fine line of, you know, being smart for your team, and that's one thing, you know, you just have to be smart about things like that, for sure.
Steno, I know you weren't expecting this topic. I think to Bill's point though, like, from where I was sitting, I was surprised that there wasn't more after that from your offensive lineman. Was that I just am wondering if that's something you talked to about.
Yeah, next question.
With them. Speaking of controversial topics, Josh did not seem, I don't want to mischaracterize our conversation with him, but he did not seem very happy about the fact that he never went back into the game after the fumble. Now, if I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but his affect was irritating.
Yeah, I'm sure he's really upset that he fumbled down there, for sure.
So,
yeah.
was it injury related, or was it a combination of a variety of things that?
Yeah, I'm never not gonna want Josh Jacobs in the game, ever, so, if that answers your question.
It does.
So you're saying it's injury related, or that he wasn't in the game?
I'm just saying, I'm never gonna not want Josh Jacobs in the game, running the ball for us.
What'd you think about the job J-Mo did? And if he has to do it again?
Yeah, I think he did for the most part, did a nice job. You know, obviously, he had a bad play where he gave up a sack at the end of the regulation, which, you know, obviously he needs to be better with his feet and everything like that. But for the most part, did a nice job competing out there, and it was encouraging, for sure.
You guys good?